In the lecture series on Introduction to Radar System, now we are going to discuss radar measurement basics. Radar can gather information for both point scatter as well as for distributed scatterers. Dimension of point scatter is small compared to the size of the radar resolution cell in range, cross range, or both. Dimension of distributed target or scatterer is large compared to the resolution cell size, allowing the individual scatterer to be discerned. The resolution capabilities of a radar usually determine whether a target is considered as a point scatterer, which is unresolved, or a distributed target that is resolved. A complex scatterer is one that contains multiple scatterers. A complex scatterer can be either a point scatterer or a distributed scatterer. Now we will consider the measurement of a point target. So for the case of range measurement of a distance or range obtained from the round trip time Tr required for a radar signal to travel to the target and back. The range R is given by Ctr divided by 2. Accuracy of range measurement may be as small as few centimeters only. Next is the angle measurement. Almost all radars use directive antenna with narrow beam width that allows the target's direction to be determined accurately. Using proper arrangements, the angular location of a target can be determined to about 1/10 of a beam width. Next one is the measurement of radial velocity. Radial velocity may be obtained from rate of change of range, which is known as range gate. But Doppler frequency shift is the basic method for obtaining radial velocity. If Fd is the Doppler frequency shift, then radial velocity is Vr equal to lambda Fd by 2, where lambda is the wavelength. This method can produce highest accuracy, but range gate is more popular as it produces less ambiguity. Next one is the tangential or cross-range velocity. There exists a special Doppler frequency shift analogous to Doppler shift for radial velocity, from which the tangential velocity can be determined. The angle rate times the range is equal to the tangential velocity. But because of the implementation problem, the measurement of tangential velocity has not been of practical interest. Now for the case of distributed target, we can have different parameters to measure. The first one is the radial profile. The target's profile and also the size in the range dimension can be obtained when the radar's range resolution cell is smaller in size than the target's dimension. To obtain a radial profile of a target, it is required that C tau by 2 much less than d, where d is the target's radial component and tau is the pulse width. The radial profile of a target sometimes can be employed to obtain limited recognition of one type of target from another. So next measurement quantity is the tangential or cross-range profile. This tangential or cross-range profile can provide the angular size of the target and the location in angle of the scattering centers. Synthetic aperture radar can provide excellent cross-range resolution without the need for large antennas. Next is the size and shape of the distributed target. When the tangential profile is obtained at each range resolution cell, the target image that includes the size and shape is formed. Imaging radars like synthetic aperture radar or SAR have sufficient resolution in both range and cross range to resolve the major scatterers of a distributed target. Next parameter is the symmetry parameter. The Response of a target to changes in polarization of the radar signal can provide a measure of the symmetry of the target. Measurement of target symmetry using polarization is not widely used in radars. However, it is the basis for detection of aircraft, that is the asymmetric target, in the presence of rain, which is the symmetric target, when using circular polarization. Next parameter is the change of radial and tangential profiles. If the individual scatterers of a complex target change their relative locations in range, the echo signal will experience a change in amplitude due to interference among the echo signals from individual scatterers. Changes in the target echo amplitude therefore indicate there are changes in the relative locations of the individual scatterers of the complex target. Next parameter is the surface characteristics. The dielectric constant of target's surface material and the roughness of its surface can be found from radar measurement. This is useful for remote sensing purpose. Now we have to consider the theoretical accuracy of radar measurement. It is assumed that the measurement error associated with a particular parameter is independent of the errors in any of the other parameters, that accuracy is limited only by receiver's noise, and that all bias errors are accounted for separately. The measure of error is the root mean square of the difference between the measured value and the true value. The expression for the theoretical RMS error delta m of a radar measurement m have the following form, like delta m equal to k into m divided by 2 e by n0 whole to the power half, where this k is a constant, e is the received signal energy, and no is the noise power per unit bandwidth. Theoretical radar accuracies may be derived by simple geometrical relationship among the signal, noise, and the parameter to be measured. Now we will consider the time delay or range accuracy. And for that, we have plotted two figures. One is the transmitted almost rectangular pulse, this one, and with this dotted line, we have plotted the original rectangular pulse along with the noise. The rise time is the 10% to the 90% time taken by the pulse to rise from 10% to 90%. So this is the rise time. But because of noise, the received signal will be little bit different, and that difference is written as delta TR, and this value is at that point, this value is NT. A is the amplitude, and we have set this as threshold. So above threshold the pulse is there, below threshold there is no pulse. The RMS error in range is delta R equal to C by 2 into delta TR, where delta TR is the RMS error in time delay, because we actually measure delta TR instead of R. So we measure TR, time of arrival or round trip time, and from that we can calculate this R. So RMS error in delta R must be proportional to the RMS error in the measurement of the round trip time. The effect of noise as it added to the pulse is to shift the time of threshold crossing by this dashed curve. Since large SNR is assumed, the slope of the leading edge of the noise-free pulse can be equated to the slope of the leading edge of the pulse with noise added. The slope of the leading edge of the pulse of amplitude A at the output of the video filter is A by TR, where TR is the rise time. The slope of the signal plus noise can be written as NT by delta TR. NT by delta TR. where NT is the noise voltage at the threshold crossing the pulse and delta TR is the error in the time delay measurement. Equating the slope of the leading edge of the pulse without noise to the slope of the pulse with noise, that will give us delta TR equal to NT by A by TR, or delta TR square bar whole to the power half equal to the error delta TR equal to TR by A square by N square bar whole to the power half, that is equal to TR by twice S by N whole to the power half, where A square by N square bar is the video SNR. Now this equation indicates that the accurate measurement of time delay require video pulses with short rise time and large amplitude. If the rise time of the video pulse is limited by the spectral bandwidth B of the rectangular shaped IF filter, then TR is almost equal to 1 by B. So if we assume S equal to E by tau and N equal to N0 into B, the error in the time delay can be expressed as delta TR equal to tau by twice B E by N0 whole to the power half, where tau is the pulse width. If the similar measurement of the time delay is made at the trailing edge of the video pulse, and if the noise at the trailing edge is independent of the noise at the leading edge, then the two measurements can be averaged to obtain an improvement in the time delay accuracy by √2. So that will give us delta TR equal to tau by 4B E by N0 whole to the power half. So using statistical method, we can get the RMS error in the time delay as delta TR equal to 1 by beta into twice E by N0 whole to the power half, where this beta can be written in this way: beta square equal to integration 2 pi f whole square SF mod square df divided by integration SF mod square df, that is equal to, this one is nothing but the signal energy, so 1 by E into integration 2 pi f square mod f square df mod SF square df. Well, this beta is the effective bandwidth. Beta by pi whole square is the normalized second moment of SF about this its mean, and SF is actually the Fourier transform of the ST. ST is the signal, transmitted signal part of the received voltage. Now accuracy of frequency and radial velocity. Doppler frequency can be written as FD equal to 2VR by lambda. VR is the radial velocity. The RMS error in radial velocity measurement can be written as delta VR equal to lambda by 2 into delta FD. But delta FD is the RMS error in Doppler frequency measurement. Now it can be shown that RMS error in measurement of frequency is delta F equal to 1 by alpha into 2E by N0 whole to the power half, where alpha square is defined in this way: integration 2 pi t whole square S square t dt divided by integration S square t dt. Here ST is the input signal, alpha is the effective time duration of the signal, and alpha by 2 pi whole square is the normalized second moment of S square t about the mean epoch, taken to be t equal to 0. Uncertainty in the range and velocity. The product of effective bandwidth beta and effective time duration alpha must be equal to or greater than pi. That means beta into alpha greater than equal to pi. So this equation is the radar uncertainty principle. So there is no theoretical restriction on accuracy with which a radar can simultaneously locate the position of a target and determine its velocity. Using the expression of RMS delay error and RMS frequency error that we have already discussed, we can write delta TR delta F equal to 1 by beta alpha into 2E by N0. Using radar uncertainty relation, we can write delta TR delta F less than equal to 1 by pi 2E by N0. So this states that the time delay and frequency may be simultaneously measured to as small a theoretical error as one desires By designing the radar to yield a sufficiently large ratio of signal energy E to noise power per unit bandwidth N0, or for fixed E by N0 to select a waveform with a larger beta alpha product. Now for this large beta alpha requires waveforms with long time duration and wide spectral width. In terms of range accuracy delta R and radial velocity accuracy delta VR, the expression of uncertainty principle becomes delta R delta VR less than equal to C lambda divided by 4 pi 2e by n0. So shorter the wavelength, the better will be the accuracy that can be achieved in the simultaneous measurement of range and radial velocity. The poorest waveform when taken as Gaussian pulse for obtaining accurate time delay and frequency measurement simultaneously is the one for which beta alpha equal to pi. Larger value of beta alpha requires internal modulation of the pulse to make the bandwidth much greater than the reciprocal of the pulse width. This is what is done in pulse compression waveforms. Now we will consider the angular accuracy. The one-dimensional electric field strength pattern of an antenna in one plane is given as gv theta equal to integration minus d by 2 to plus d by 2 ax exponential j 2 pi x by lambda sin theta dx. That is equivalent to, for small value of theta, sin theta becomes almost equal to theta. So we can write integration minus d by 2 to plus d by 2 ax exponential j 2 pi x theta divided by lambda dx. The d is the antenna length, ax is the distribution of the current across the aperture, or in other words, aperture illumination. Theta is angle measured from broadside. That means theta equal to 0 is the perpendicular to the antenna. This expression is similar to the inverse Fourier transform. So if st is the signal, then inverse Fourier transform can be written as minus infinity to plus infinity sf exponential j 2 pi ft df. So it is the same expression. Here gv theta can be related to st, aperture illumination ax to sf, theta to the time t, and x by lambda to the frequency f. So using this analogy, the RMS error for an angle measurement can be written as delta theta by lambda equal to 1 by gamma 2e by n0 whole to the power half, where this effective aperture width gamma is defined as gamma square equal to integration minus infinity to plus infinity 2 pi x square mod ax whole square dx divided by integration ax whole square dx. The effective aperture width is 2 pi times the square root of the normalized second moment of ax square about the mean value of x taken to be at x equal to 0. The theoretical angle measurement error for an antenna with a uniform amplitude illumination across the aperture can be written as delta theta equal to root 3 into lambda divided by pi d into 2e by n0 whole to the power half. So that can be written as 0.628 theta b divided by 2e by n0 whole to the power half. For the this expression, far right expression, uses the relation that the half power beam width for this aperture illumination is theta b equal to 0.88 lambda by d. So that's enough for this day. So let us stop here. We will see you in the next class for other things.